The next day. Oh boy. This is I feel so bad for Mion. It was a strange day where Mion was desperate to regain her composure. Every time our eyes met, she would say that she had something to do or that she had to use the washroom and run off. Unable to just watch, Rena was taking care of her the entire time. Oh.
今日のミオンさん、徹底的に変ですわね。
Sadoko jump scare for like a few seconds. Or like a fraction of a second.
一部始終を知ってはいるんだが、なんとも説明しづらい。
女の子には不安定になる時もあるのです。放っておいてあげるのが一番なのですよ。
Ain't that the truth? Turning around, I saw Rena calling me from the hallway. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that Rena got tricked by Shion, because it's kind of heavily implied, especially in the last chapter or the last subchapter, where we learn that, you know, Rena had a talk with Mion, and she's like, man, if I could start over as someone else and meet Keiichi again, I really want him to see this side of me. Which is like your huge like hint that like, oh, well, actually, maybe Shion really is Mion's like other side. And then that's kind of like your hint, right? And then they turn it around on you. Also, hey Mina, thanks for stopping by. So, turning around, I saw Rena calling me from the hallway. I wonder what it was.
ケイチくん、こっちこっち。
なんだよ、こんなとこに呼んで。内緒話か？
その、災難だったみたいだね。
Yeah, it was.
みーちゃん、かなり壊れてたけど、なんとか直しておいたから。
よく直せたな。一体どうやって？
テレビと同じ。
You smacked her?
斜め45度くらいの角度で、えい、えいって。
Saying that, she made a chomping motion. You know, I can't tell if you're joking or not, right?
明日からは大丈夫だから。だけど、ケイチくんにもお願いしたいことがあるの。
悪気はないんだが、なぜか罪の意識もある。何でも聞くぞ。
みーちゃんはね、昨日までの数日間のこと、なかったことにするから。
Never happened, huh? I see. Well, that's one way to run from it.
だからね、ケイチくんも、なかったことにしてあげて。それでみーちゃん、いつも通りだから。
Oh no.
そんな簡単なことで、本当に大丈夫なのか？
お願いだから、みーちゃんの心の整理がつくまで、そっとしておいてあげてよ。
わかったよ。
Even though I shouldn't have been at fault, for some reason I feel guilty. The one at fault was the one who knew about the entire situation and pretended to be Mion for an entire day. Shion. But she never once said that she was Mion. What am I supposed to be angry at? Seeing me stomping the ground impatiently, Rena giggled.
でも、ケイチくんもわかったでしょ？みーちゃんにも可愛いところがあるんだって。
Rena talked in a calm voice as her hair rustled in the wind.
ああ、退屈しないやつだということがわかった。
よかった。
Following this curt reply, Rena looked up at the sky and stretched.
ケイチくんがそれに気づいてくれれば、この数日間の出来事はすぐに笑い話になるんだよ。
Actually, I don't think we've seen this background in the console version. Let's see. Just real quick. Just simple, like sky. It's very nice. It's very, very nice. Back to original. Hopping it in, I also began to stretch as I looked at the sky. The clear sky towered into the distance.
今日は部活も何もなし。今日だけは、申し訳ないけどケイチくん、 下校は一人でいいかな。
Oh no.
明日からは元通りだから、今日だけ。ね。
If all it took for everything to go back to normal was to leave Mion alone for today, then it was an easy decision to make.
わかったよ。ミオンに面と向かって言えないから、レナに言っとく。なんだか申し訳ないな。謝る。
元はといえば、ケイチくんが無神経なことを言うからいけなかったんだよね。これに懲りて、少しはデリカシーってものを身につけるんだよ。
へいへい、努力します。
That day was the shortest day of my life. Rena was talking to Mion while accompanying her around the entire time. It looked like a really fun conversation, so I reflexively thought about joining in, but I had made a promise not to. It seemed that Mion was also trying her best to ignore me. So likewise, I did my best to ignore her. Oh, those are like the worst feelings too. Whenever like a situation's pretty awkward between you and someone else, and you do have to like ignore them, or you feel them ignoring you, and it's just like it's a mutual agreement between both parties. It just sucks. But yeah, I mean, they could try talking to each other, but they're also kids. Remember, like if Keiichi would just go, if he would just ignore everything and just go up to Mion and be like, look, I'm really sorry. I really thought you were just trying to be someone else. The person that I fell for just so happened to be a side that I thought was yours, and I was actually falling for you, and instead of like Shion, and so on and so forth. If he could like think that, that would probably make her feel better, and then maybe both of them start going out, and then everything's good to go, right? Like everything's fine. And then Shion's heartbroken, but it's okay because actually Keiichi fell in love with Mion. And that would make a lot of sense, and it would also be a very mature way to go about things. But we've also learned that Keiichi is a fucking idiot, and he's unfortunately unable to think up of these type of like solutions on his own. He needs to literally have everything spelled out for him. And then yeah, there wouldn't be any drama in this. For the first time in a while, I ate lunch alone. Mion and Rena ate theirs by themselves. As I let out a sigh in my ashen mood, Rika-chan came over and patted me on the head.
ケイイチもミーもいっぱいいっぱいお勉強しましたですね。
I'd never say it like that. It made it sound like we were having romantic problems. I didn't like that one bit. Hopefully the teacher wouldn't notice and call us to the staff room or after school or something.
きっとケイイチは素敵な大人になれますですよ。なでなで。
Imagine having to explain that to your teacher. It's like, why are you guys acting so weird? Oh, I've slowly been going on like dates with her twin sister for the past week, thinking it was her, and I basically cucked her in front of. I basically cucked Mion with her twin sister by accident, and then the teacher just being like, so da yo, so desu ne.
リカちゃんはお勉強家だから、すごい素敵な大人になれそうだな。
もちろんなのですよ。僕は大人になったらすごいすごいのです。あら、私も大人になったらすごいレディーになるんですのよ。
すごいレディ。
さとこはいくつになってもお子様だと思うぞ。かけてもいい。
なんですって？
Satoko snapped her fingers. A washbin fell from above, hitting me squarely in the head. Oh my god.
何しやがんだ、さとこ！
I haven't seen that gag be used in anime in ages, dude. Like normally it's like a giant, you know, steel or well not steel, but like a giant metallic washbin, and it just falls on the character. My god. This game has so much charm. It was a day I could thoroughly appreciate the value of having friends. True. Imagine Keiji having to go through this without like any moral support. And that's it, chapter's over. Just kidding. Imagine. It's like a 10-minute chapter. Today was Saturday, so school ended in the blink of an eye. It really felt good to go home with the sun so high in the sky. Actually, I learned about this recently too. So, in Japan, I learned about this because I was watching a video on a dating sim game that like kind of fucked everything up for dating sims in Japan. But in Japan, up until like the early 2000s, grade schoolers, or was it 90s? No, early 2000s. It was like around 2001 or 2002, or maybe just the turn of the millennia at the year 2000. Grade schoolers had school up until Saturday. Like, you would go to school Monday through Saturday if you were a Japanese student in the 90s and the 80s and so on. And it wasn't until the early 2000s that they're like, you know what? No more school on Saturdays. And then they stopped. So now you had Monday through Friday, and you had Saturday and Sunday off. But then people would still do like cram school and stuff like that on the weekends. But the point is, yeah, like school on Saturday was just not a thing anymore. But this is the 80s, so it's still a thing. The reason why that involves the dating sim is because before, in the dating sim, you had more time to bring up your stats or some shit. But because they changed the way schools worked in Japan, the dating sim also had to adapt to give you. They had to add mechanics so as to make up for the missing day of the week that you would no longer have in school. And I don't remember what the hell they changed it with because it's been a while since I've seen it. But anyway, it really felt good to go home with the sun so high in the sky. On any other day, our club would have been up to mischief during our ample after-school time. But today, Rika-chan had a rehearsal for tomorrow's Watanagashi to go to.
リカちゃんはどんな調子？
Oh, fuck, that's tomorrow.
練習はバッチリ？
去年よりは頑張りますです。
去年は終わった後、ヘトヘトの汗だらけだったんだよね。
今年はもっともっと様になってますわよ。特訓の成果、ご期待あそばせですの。
The Watanagashi festival everyone had been talking about was tomorrow, wasn't it? The festival being in June felt a little early to me, but the onset of summer came quickly this year, so it fit the image of a summer festival pretty well.
じゃあ僕たちは失礼しますです。明日を楽しみになさいませ。それではごきげんようですわ。
Satoko and Rika-chan waved us energetically, then left.
そういえば聞いてなかったんだけど、祭り会場ってどこなんだ？この辺って祭りのできそうな場所なんてあったっけ？
古出神社でやるんだよ。ほら、以前にみんなでお散歩した時に行ったでしょ。あの見晴らしの良かったところ。
Oh, right, I remember. There was a shrine all the way up on that hill, wasn't there? It seemed far too grand for Hinamizawa.
神社には立派な集会所とかもあって、老人会のカラオケとか習字サークルの会合とかを時々やってるからね。
A great meeting hall, you say? Huh. Okay.
単なる神社というよりは公共施設のような雰囲気だね。
Uh-huh.
なるほどね。それなら立派なのも納得かな。
みーちゃんちも今日の設営にはお手伝いに行くの？
うん、男手がいるからね。町から親類が大勢手伝いに来るよ。
Male hands, huh? Well, I mean, I have nothing to do at home today, so...
俺みたいのが飛び入りで参加するとかえって邪魔になるか？
ケイちゃん、手伝いに来てくれるの？
迷惑なら行かねえよ。単なる興味だからさ。
We had bond dances and other festivals in the town I used to live in, but I didn't even know where they took place, much less wanted to help. You could say that I had absolutely no connection to the region. Having come to Hinamizawa, though, it really made me feel like this place was a home that I had returned to. Before I knew it, I harbored a little interest in the small community activity of preparing for a festival the day before.
ケイチくん頑張れるかな？テントを立てたり、パイプ椅子を並べたり。結構重労働って聞いてるよ。
別に俺一人でやるわけじゃないだろ。 みんなでやればきっと早いぜ。
Mion looked happy to hear that, but at the same time, her expression was complex, tinged with hesitation. Then I gave her the last push for me.
じゃあ決定だね。行ってきなよケイチくん。みーちゃんはビシビシこき使ってあげてね。
レナの推薦じゃ仕方ないな。じゃあさ、帰ったらラフな格好で神社に来なよ。汗拭き用のタオルもあるといいかもね。
よし来た。俺こう見えても太陽の下で汗をかくの嫌いじゃないんだぜ。
せいぜい腰を痛めないようにね。じゃあおじさんはこの辺で。私も着替えたらすぐに神社に行くから。
みーちゃんも頑張ってね。バイバイ。
Mion waved vigorously to us and left. As far as I could tell from her gallant, retreating figure, she seemed to have recovered from the weak state she had yesterday.
女の子は切り替えが早いんだから。
I don't know about that one, did I know, but...
もうみーちゃんも大丈夫だよ。
うん。あれだけ綺麗に切り替えてくれるとこっちも実に合わせやすい。
でも面白かったでしょ。シンデレラみたいっていうのかな。魔法が解けたらもう会えないってところが。
Rena began to giggle a fair bit in amusement. Did she like this sort of thing? Incidentally, me going along with it gave me a weird, hard-to-describe feeling. Did I turn myself into a plaything? Or did they do it for me?
そんなに面白いならレナももう一人の自分を演じればいいじゃないか。
面白そうだね。じゃあケイチくんはどんなレナに会いたいかな。
アイドル真っ青のルックスと俺の言うこと何でも確実に聞く器量よして頼む。
Oh my fucking god, Keiichi, what the fuck are you saying, dude?
そんなの無理。
料理上手でお昼のお弁当を作ってくれて朝は迎えに来てくれて。
それいつもやってる。
I pull Rena's head into a tight grip, then start to pet it. Excuse me?
竜宮レナなんだろ。レイナじゃなくてレナだから。レナはいつまでもレナのまんまでいろ。
ありがとう。お祭りのお手伝い頑張ってね。
おう、明日祭りで会おうな。
And if you forgot, we learned in the last chapter, by that I mean chapter 1, that only strangers call Reina, which is her actual name. But her close friends or anyone that's close to her refers to her as Rena, or refers to her by Irena instead. They specifically mentioned something like only an outsider would call her Reina. I got changed right away, and slinging a towel around my neck like Mion suggested, I set off for the shrine. I bet he looks like a construction worker, like wearing overalls and a long sleeve shirt, like boots, and then he has a towel around his neck. At the shrine, there were more people than you'd imagine even live in Hinamizawa there. All cordoning off areas and setting up tent frameworks, chatting amongst themselves as they did so. Alright, where's Mion? The liveliness of the throng didn't make it easy to go look for her. I searched around as if I already worked there, and suddenly the principal called out to me.
前原君であるか。関心である。綿流しの準備のお手伝いに来たのかね。
ああ、どうも。何かお手伝いできないかなって思いまして。
殊勝な心がけである。存分に汗を流すがよいぞ。ガハハハハハ。
Spurred on by the principal, I came upon a group of people setting up tents.
ありゃあ、前原の兄ちゃんじゃねえの。ひょっとして手伝いに来たのかい？
I hadn't found Mion yet, but I suppose I'd just get in her way if I ran into her.
おっす、手伝いに来ました。よろしくお願いします。
若いのは元気があっていいね。ほら、軍手つけて。テントは組んだことあるかい？
いえ、初めてっす。
Delighting in teaching a new skill to someone younger, plenty of people happily taught me all sorts of things.
じゃあ、兄ちゃんは天幕の内側に入って天骨の紐だけ結んで。 結んだら足を立てて残りの紐も結ぶからな。
蝶々結びでいいんですよね。よいしょよいしょ。
結んだか。立てるぞ。いっせーの。
What was once nothing more than the collapsed tent was raised on 4 splendid legs before my eyes in mere moments. Whoa. Seeing it put together like this is actually pretty moving.
ほれほれ、感動してる場合じゃないぞ。まだまだたくさんあるんだからな。トラックにテントを積んであるからここまで持ってきな。重いから2人でやれよ。
大丈夫っすよ。俺こう見えても結構力あるんすから。
Oh. They look light enough, so I thought they were, but they're heavy.
だから2人で運べって言ったろ。ほれほれ。
That's so nice. This is like a very, like, heartwarming scene. Said the man, lifting it up with a grunt and taking it away under his arm. Either I'm weak or these old guys all have superhuman strength.
ほら、一番若いんだから汗しないとダメだぞ。頑張れ頑張れ。終わった後のビールがうまいぞ。
俺未成年だし。
Sweat dripped from my body. I had been fully and completely absorbed in helping them. I would have never thought the cold barley tea from the Women's Society could taste this delicious.
若いからね。担当のみ。
ありがとうございます。
It was then that I realized a crowd had formed near the shrine a ways off. When I took a closer look, I saw a girl dressed in shrine maiden garb and a handful of old men looking like they were preparing for the ceremony together.
リカちゃんか？おーいリカちゃん頑張れよ。
I shouted and it seemed like she heard me. Rika-chan, positively exploding with vitality, answered me with a smile. I also don't remember if we've seen this version of Rika. I think we did in the Watanagashi last chapter. But just in case. Here she is in her Shrine Maiden outfit. Ugh. And then back to normal. And I guess we can check out this background too. So, let's console feature real quick. Oh, there she is. She's shifting. But there's the shrine in the background as well. And then back to... The older guys with me watched Rika-chan as well with distant gazes.
リカちゃまも頑張るな。
Chama. I've never heard anyone use that specifically to refer to someone. Hold on. Chama. It's a polite or respectful way to refer to someone who's your equal. Really? So they have like quite a bit of respect for Rika,
去
which
年
is
に
crazy.
比べるとだいぶ板についてきたみたいだしな。
The old lady who gave me the tea clasped what looked like prayer beads in her hands and said,
リカ様、ありがたや、ありがたや。
and now Sama. And just like that, began to respectfully pray to her. Right. Huh? I just remember that they called it the Furude Shrine. Wasn't Rika-chan's last name Rika, or full name Rika Furude? Yeah. Man standing next to me answered my question.
そうだよ。リカちゃまのフルデ一族は代々大社様をお祭りする由緒正しい一族なんだよ。
Oh. We're gonna learn about Oyashiro-sama now. Huh? I'd always gotten the feeling she wasn't quite your average person, but it turned out she was from an esteemed family.
昨年神主様だったお父さんが亡くなられてからはああやって頑張って祭事を引き継いでおるんだよ。この立派になった姿、神主様に見せたかったの。
Hmm.
リカちゃんのお父さんってお亡くなりになったんですか？
よし、休憩終わり。次は使わないパイプ椅子を沖小の体育館に戻しちゃおっか。マーキさん、K を回して何人か連れてってよ。
じゃあ前原君、最後にもう一働きしようか。
You're gonna make me do more work? I can't tell if they know I'm a minor or not, but the older men all cheered me on, encouraging me to do my best and that the beer will be great. I think they keep forgetting that.
ケイちゃん頑張ってる。
I passed by Mion. She was carrying a big cardboard box. It looked like she was right in the middle of working as well. Judging by the sweat seeping into her shirt, it seemed I wasn't the only one with his hands full.
頑張ってるぜ。ミオンも頑張れよ。ビールがうまいぞ。
We were worked to the bone until the sun began to set and it started cooling off. It was soon full-fledged night, and the clear sounds of the Higurashi eased the moderate pain I felt. And here we have the shrine background, which I don't think we've seen this one either. So let's quickly check the console background. And there it is. So this is the ones from the beginning of the game, from the title screen. Because you can see the shisha, or shishi, the lions in the background. There with the shrine, and then the little... what is it, like a prayer box or donation box? I'm not sure. But there it is. The older guys began their night before drinking party in a tent a fair bit off, causing quite a ruckus. The shrine grounds, on the other hand, had turned into a lonely road tickled by the cool evening breeze, despite being so festive just a little while ago. The wind felt good. I leaned on one of the stone guardian dogs at the front of the shrine. I gave my legs a good stretch as I let my mind wander, and suddenly a paper cup filled with barley tea was thrust before me.
ケイちゃんお疲れ様。はい、麦茶です。
お、気が利くな。サンキュー、
Her voice sounded exactly the same, but it felt somehow different. You should have been able to tell, just by hearing it, that it was actually...
あ、お前は。
どうも
シオン。
シオンです。気が利いているのはシオンの方、聞いてないのがミオンの方ですのでお間違いなきよう。
シオン、てめえ、ここで会ったが100年目。
ケイちゃんが勝手に勘違いしたんですよ。私は初めからシオンとしか名乗ってませんし。
True.
それを言われると弱い。
そうそう、お姉にすらかなわないケイちゃんが私にかなうわけないんですからね。それより麦茶ぬるくなっちゃいますよ。
うん。
もう機嫌直してください。だからこれ仲直りの麦茶ってことで。
Well, she did come all this way here to give it to me. I guess I'll accept it. I took the cup and downed it in one gulp. And then suddenly, I heard a loud shout and it got stuck in my throat.
今度はどっちだ？本物のミオンか？
シオン！あんた、なんでまたケイちゃんと一緒にいるわけ？お姉と違って私は気配りとかできるタイプですから。
We've seen both of them. Yeah, actually, we've seen both of them exactly in this pose before.
汗だくになってたケイちゃんを放っておけなくて麦茶を持ってきたわけです。ところでお姉はなんで麦茶を2つも持ってるんですか？
Oh, she's so fucking mean. Mion's face went bright red and she tried to hide the paper cups behind her back.
いや、これは大雑把で自分さえ良ければいいお姉がクラスメートの男の子に海外しく麦茶を持ってくるわけないですよね。
She's so fucking mean. Look at her smug face. No, Shion, you bitch. Oh, and it's worse than this. Imagine only playing with this fucking art on. God, that looks horrible.
結局何なんです？その2つの麦茶は。
これはそのすっごく喉が渇いちゃって2杯は飲めるかなーなんて。
I would just be like, bro, I was choking on tea right now. Give me the other cup, please.
お姉らしい。
So I could wash down the tea that I couldn't wash down.
それ一気一気。
As Shion cheered at her, Mion downed both of the cups of tea one after the other.
さすがはお姉、見事な飲みっぷりでした。ケイちゃんも拍手拍手。
Wait, suddenly the situation has gotten unbelievable. Mion doesn't usually get manipulated so easily like that. I've known for a while now, but Shion is terrifying.
ミオンってシオンには頭上がらないのか？
私シオン嫌い。この前からもっと嫌いになった。
Aww. Just then, I heard the snap of a camera shutter.
こんばんは。
Oh. Here they are. This is the first time we encounter them. It's been a long time.
いよいよ明日がお祭りだね。今日は準備お疲れさん。
こんばんは。あら、シオンちゃん。珍しいわね、こっちへ来るなんて。ありゃ、富田家のおじさまに高野さんじゃないですか。
こんばんは。ご無沙汰いたしております。
君が噂の転校生前原圭一君だね。今日は張り切って仕事してたね。感心したよ。
I feel like I've seen this photographer guy before.
どこかでお会いしてますよね。
覚えててくれて嬉しいね。圭一君とは道で何度かすれ違ってるよ。僕は富田家。東京から来てるフリーのカメラマンさ。
He sounds a bit different. I might be misremembering because it's been a while since I've heard his voice, but I think he sounds older. But I might be wrong.
じゃあ、私はわかるかしら？
すみません、覚えがないです。
高野美代さんだよ。ケイちゃんはまだ風邪とかで診療所のお世話にはなってない？美代さんは診療所で看護師さんをやってるんだよ。高野よ。よろしくね。治療に来るときは教えてね。太めの注射針を用意しておくから。
そりゃご丁寧にどうも。
Tomitaka-san seemed to be quite entertained at the Sonozaki twins being in the same place, and he took picture after picture.
話には聞いていたけど、チラン製ソーセージってのは初めて見たよ。本当にそっくりなんだな。
そっくりなのは外見だけじゃないんですよ。ほら、下着もお揃い。
Huh?
バカバカ、あんた何すんの
Things have never been as lively as when the two of them were together. What just happened? I thought they were exactly the same at first, but I started to get a handle on which one is which. Mion is Mion, and Shion, well, she seems a far better actor than Mion was. In the first place, somebody that could spurn Mion so easily wouldn't have shown such weakness to those lard buckets at Angel Born. If that was the case, then the cowardly behavior from that day was all a complete act.
あの二人、
Yeah.
昔はもっとそっくりでね。
Yeah, of course she was like testing. Like that's the whole thing, Keiji. She was testing you to see if you would come to her rescue like you promised you would. And you did. And that's what made her like you a lot more.
ご両親でもどっちがどっちかわからなくて手を焼いていたそうよ。
すごく想像に容易です。 ご両親のご苦労がよくわかります。
Takano gave me a kind of an odd look, but explaining would have been a pain, so I didn't bother.
富武のおじさまはまた渡流しの取材が終わったら東京にとんぼ帰りですか？
うん。本当はいつまでも滞在していたいんだけどね。しがない大人の都合ってやつさ。
お写真が早く素敵な賞を取るといいですね。お祈りしていますね。
ありがとう。今度来る時には今日撮った君たちの写真も持ってくるよ。
今日は前原くんもお疲れ様。慣れない力仕事で疲れたでしょ？
まあ疲れたけど結構楽しかったです。
若さね、羨ましいわ。
Takano-san smiled with an adult elegance that no one in my circle of friends possessed. The wind caught her hair. She gives off an intelligent beauty.
おやおや皆さんこんにちは。
Oishi-san. It seemed like our merry crowd was standing out. This time an overweight, older man addressed us. And again, it was someone I thought I knew. If I recall correctly, he's a policeman, isn't he?
あら、大石さん。こんばんは。明日の警備の下見ですか？
はははは。そんなところです。おや、富武くんじゃないですか。ご無沙汰しておりますね。
僕の名前を覚えていてくださったとは光栄ですよ。
あなたもつくづくひなみ沢が好きですな。ここいらへんは東京よりもずっとアパートは安いですよ。いっそ引っ越してくればいいのに。仲のいい不動産屋を紹介しますよ。
それは嬉しいですね。その節はぜひお世話になりたいです。
ではでは皆さん、良いお年を。園崎の双子さんも良いお年を。
Happy New Year.
良いお年を、大石刑事。
She's so serious. Kinda eerie.
お仕事よろしくお願いしますね。今年は皆さんの手を煩わせない綿流しにしたいです。
こりゃ手厳しい。
Detective Oishi left us with a low laugh and headed off to talk to some police officer standing a ways away. I gave Mion a glance and saw her making an annoyed face, as if she were glaring bullets at someone she hated.
そうね。今年は警察のお世話にならない綿流しになるといいわね。
君も好きだね。
あら、二郎さんは嫌い？私、そういう夢のある話好きよ。潤いのない時代だからこそ、そういうのに憧れるの。
お社様のたたりか。
First, Tomitake-san used a troubling word. Then, suddenly, someone tugged on my arm.
ケイちゃん、私お腹空いちゃったからさ、酒盛りのテントに行ってお菓子でも食べてこない？
そうだな。俺もちょっとお腹が減ったかな。
行こう行こう。
A moment later, Shion said something to Takano and Tomitake that stung my ears and gave me a start.
今年は誰が死んで、誰が消えるんでしょうね。
I pulled back from Mion's grip and stopped abruptly.
シオン、今、なんて言ったんだ？
It felt like the air around us dried out all of a sudden.
行こうよケイちゃん。つまんない話だよ。
お姉はまだケイちゃんに話してないの？
私、そういう話は吹き込まない主義なの。
Shion's cold and quiet tone and Mion's harsh voice were quite the contrast.
おいおいおいおい、何の話だよ。知ってるなら教えてくれよ。俺だけのけ者なんて、なんだか気分悪いぞ。
I don't understand this. Someone explain it to me. However, Mion didn't seem to be at all willing to grant my request. She squeezed my hand in hers a bit, but then she realized I would hold my ground on this topic. But when she realized I would hold my ground on this topic, she let go.
じゃあさ、私先に酒盛りのテントに行ってるよ。早く来ないとケイちゃんの分なくなっちゃうからね。
なあ、分かってるって。すぐ行くから。
Mion left, trotting towards a particularly noisy tent on the other side of the shrine grounds. Before she got there, she stopped and turned back around. I showed no signs of going after her, though, so she ran off.
もしも聞いてないんだったら話してもいいけど、ひょっとすると聞かないで彼女と一緒にお菓子を食べに行った方が賢明かもしれないよ。
Hey now, you've already got my full attention here. I'm gonna leave without asking at this point.
ケイちゃんにも聞く権利があると思います。お姉はその権利を奪ってただけです。
Shion's voice was bristling with thorns, as if somehow blaming Mion.
一体何の話だって言うんですか？あんまりもったいぶられると不愉快ですよ。
Takano-san, realizing how prepared I was, looked across the group. After confirming that there were no objections, she opened her mouth.
前原君はタタリを信じるかしら？
たたりですか？面白いとは思いますけど、あんまり信じては。
I felt their cynical stares and winced. It was like they were telling me, it was like they were telling me it was stranger not to believe in curses.
ケイちゃんは間違ってないですよ。タタリなんて迷信もいいとこ。信じなくて当たり前です。
そうね。それにタタリを信じるかどうかは話を最後まで聞いてからゆっくり考えればいいことなんだから。
Said Takano-san. Said Takano-san, giving a little smile. They're trying to scare me? At least that's what it feels like.
じゃあ少し僕が話そうか。圭一君はひなみ沢ダム計画を知ってるかい？
Oh yeah. The other day at Angel Mort, Mion rather, told me all about it.
確かひなみ沢が丸ごと水没する巨大なダムの計画が発表されたって言うんですよね。
その通り。それに反対するために住民運動が結成され、国と激しい戦いを繰り広げたんだ。
I've heard that too. The entire village united, using all the power at their disposal, mass media, political influence, and other things, and fought the country. The way Mion described it made it sound like a boast.
あれ？ずいぶん詳しいじゃないか。その通りさ。わずか1000人ちょいの村人たちが中心になって結束して、国の施策を跳ね返したという、ちょっとした武勇伝なんだ。
その辺はお姉に聞かされてませんか？この辺りの武勇伝はお姉も好きですからね。
ああ。話してたよ。
そのひなみ沢の人たちが結束して旗揚げした反対同盟の事務所があったのがね、この神社なんだよ。
ほら、あの集会所がその名残よ。解散後は老人会のサークル活動にしか使われてないけど、当時はまさに最後の砦だったの。
Takano-san explained this, pointing a finger towards the assembly hall and had been carrying things in and out of there all day. I mean, I would understand if they put an office like that in the mayor's house or something, but having an office on Shrine grounds made it feel kind of like a base camp for Sengoku period warriors. True. So this is kind of what, like, they mentioned it a bit ago. They're like, yeah, they have a bunch of meetings here. and then they're like, oh, it's more like a rec center for like the older crowd, but we know things because we played chapter 1. So obviously there's more to these like offices than,
そ
you
ん
know,
な心境だったん
Mitsui.
だろうね。彼らはひなみ沢の守り神様であるお社様を祀る神社に本陣を置くことで必勝を祈願したんだよ。
Oyashiro-sama. That was definitely it. They mentioned Oyashiro-sama's curse before. Is it the same as Oyashiro-sama? Or is it the same Oyashiro-sama? Sorry.
ケイチ君はお社様は知ってるかい？この神社の祀る神様の名前だよ。ひなみ沢を守ってると伝えられてる。
いや、よくは知らないです。
そうか。じゃあここから先は高野さんの方が詳しいかな。タッチ。
Is she like the folklorist here, or what's going on?
平たく言えばそのままよ。お社様はこのひなみ沢に伝わる古い神様で、神聖なこの地が属世に汚されることがないよう守り続けてきたと伝えられてるわ。
So, essentially, he's a basic, standard guardian deity. I guess you can find that sort of god anywhere you go.
お社様崇拝は一種の先民思想の表れではないかと研究されているわね。先民思想って言葉わかるかしら？
Believing yourself chosen. A nationalistic belief that you are part of a superior race, or that you're a special clan chosen by the gods. They believe that they're a superior clan, so they believe strongly in cooperating with others, but they also end up being exclusionary towards other clans. I won't go too much into detail, but it's a sort of national and religious ideas that lead to war. Of course, that goes for Japan
大
too.
昔のひなみ沢の人たちは自分たちは人間とは異なる格の違う存在だと強く信じていてね。下界との交流を汚れとして意味嫌ったそうなの。だから村に下界の人間が来ると汚れてお社様の罰が当たると強く信じ、何者も近寄らせなかったそうよ。
よそ者を嫌う村ってよく推理小説に出てくるだろ。
Accidentally skipped ahead. Because I was reading and I was like, I forgot that the audio has to also catch up.
典型的なそういう村だったらしいんだよ。
一応名誉のために断りますけど、大昔のことですからね。今は違います。
Kindaichi novels are like novels, what's it called? They're like classic Japanese detective novels, if I recall. So that's kind of what they're referring to. So it makes sense that they would kind of take place in like xenophobic villages, or that someone gets murdered, you know, because they're an outsider and things like that. Anyway, Shion followed up quickly, having sensed the thorns in Tomitake-san's words. Tomitake-san, embarrassed at what he said, scratched at his head. So this shrine worships Oyashiro-sama. Thinks of Hinamizawa as holy ground, and it's a symbol of their traditional hatred of the outside world.
なるほど。だから下界からやってきた汚れたダム計画に立ち向かうためにひなみ沢の守り神様の神社に本陣を置いたと。
Correct. Smiled Takano, pleased. She must dislike stupid people.
円担ぎも万端。村人たちは視力を尽くしてダム計画に立ち向かうんだ。その最中なんだよ。事実上、あの事件でとどめが入ったと言ってもいい。
Oyashiro-sama's curse.
ひなみ沢ダムの建設現場の監督がですね、殺されちゃったんです。4年前かな。結構派手に新聞に載ったんですけど、覚えてません？
ちょっと知らないな。
部下と喧嘩してツルハシでめった打ちにされて、両手両足首をもいで捨てられたんだそうです。
バラバラ殺人だよ。一 一頃流行ったろ。
Yeah, they were all the rage. Remember when it was really popular to just have dismemberment murders? In the 80s? Quite popular, especially in the West. Such a gruesome incident. But it was just that, an incident. A person caused the incident after all. Did they really put it down to the curse? Put it down to the curse.
その翌年にはね、
Anyway.
ひなみ沢の住人でありながらダム推進派のグループを結成していた男がね、旅行先で崖から落ちて死んじゃったの。これは事故だそうよ。
何しろひなみ沢中から敵視されていたからね。警察もかなり念入りに他殺の線を洗ったんだけど、結局事故と断定したみたいだよ。
Now it's an accident. This is the most curse-like one, but it's still far-fetched.
さらに翌年、今度はね、この神社の神主さんが原因不明の病で倒れて急死しちゃったの。
前の神主さんはこう言っちゃ失礼ですけど、ちょっと日和見な人だったんですよね。村中が反ダムで盛り上がってるのに、神主さんは放っておけみたいな感じで、抵抗運動の象徴である神社の神主さんがそんな感じなんだからね。リーダーシップを期待していた当時の村人たちは失望し、中には怒りを抱く人たちもいたそうよ。だから当時年寄り連中はみんな言ったんです。これはお社様のたたりだってね。
It did seem like every year dam-related people, the village had resentment towards were dying. It was pretty creepy.
しかもね、面白いことにこれらの事件や事故は毎年必ず綿流しのお祭りの晩に起こるんだよ。
ね、ちょっとたたりっぽくなってきたでしょ。
さらに翌年、つまり去年だね、今度は事故死したダム推進派のリーダー格の男の弟夫婦の奥さんが撲殺死体で発見されちゃったんだ。もちろん犯人は捕まったけどね。
ね、やっぱりたたりっぽいでしょ。
4 years in a row. Each one of the incidents and accidents were related, were relatively commonplace. But every single one of them happening on the night of the festival worshipping Oyashiro-sama. It's not normal.
年寄り連中はこの数年の事件ですっかりお社様のたたりを盲信しちゃって、若い人たちだって最初はバカにしてましたけど、今は誰も茶化しませんね。
Yeah, I can see where she's coming from. Even me, even if I didn't think there was a curse at all, thinking about all the incidents like this makes me feel like maybe it's real?
例えば今日のお祭り準備にしてもそうさ。ダムとの戦いで荒れていたとはいえ、何年か前までは綿流しはそんなに盛況していたわけじゃないんだよ。
まあそうですね。お社様のたたりの話がなかったらこんなにお祭りには集まりませんね。不信心者には罰が当たるかもしれない。だからお社様のお祭りには必ず出ようって言ってる人たち多いです。
She nodded as if she were mocking herself.
どうかな。ケイジ君もひょっとしてたたりは本当にあるのではという気になってきたんじゃないかな。
I mean, you can't just laugh off people related to the dam construction project all dying like that. If even I feel like this now, then the more superstitious members of the village must feel stronger than them.
まあそれでもたたりなんかないと思ってます。ですけど信じる人たちの気持ちもわかるつもりです。
さすがケイちゃんは冷静に判断できてますね。
Shion grinned, realizing I'd rejected the curse.
たたりでもなく偶然のはずもないなら、さてこれらの事件はどういうことになるのかしらね。
Takano-san said, smiling playfully, as if posing a riddle. Neither a curse nor a coincidence, but every year someone dies. What should we make of that then? Tomitaka-san, catching on to the fact that I had no idea what to make of it, opened his mouth and came to my aid.
高野さんはね、人間の仕業かもしれないって言ってるんだよ。
Eh? Simple process of elimination would have gotten me there. I was a little taken aback at not having realized the answer immediately. True?
だってそうでしょ。たたりでもなく偶然でもないなら、人の意志が働いてるとしか考えられないもの。
Takano-san pressed on. I smiled bitterly in spite of myself. Here I was just a few minutes ago, thinking that the very concept of a curse was absolutely absurd. When she suggested it was someone's doing, I ended up thinking, wasn't any way it could be a person. But Takano-san was right. It was either a curse or it was a person's doing. If unrealistic things like curses didn't exist, then the obvious next step would be to start thinking it was people behind it. But if that was the case, I glanced at Shion.
人間が犯人なら確かにひなみ沢の誰かが犯人なんでしょうね。現に警察の大石さんはそう見てますから。
おいおい、そんなわけあるのかよ。
I thought I now knew the reason Mion didn't want to talk about this. If Oyashiro-sama's curse really existed, then that's fine. It would be divine judgment for the damn project business. However, if Oyashiro-sama's curse didn't exist, which it obviously didn't, then the culprit would most likely be someone from Hinamizawa. The villagers had worked desperately to oppose the damn construction project. I knew they had used all sorts of methods to fight against it. If one of those methods was, maybe...
お社様のたたりは、ダム計画抵抗運動の暗部じゃないかって囁かれてるんです。
So far, no. This is the first time that we're being introduced to Oyashiro-sama, at least in this chapter. In chapter 1, they covered it around the 3rd chapter? No. It happened after the Watanagashi. Like, after the events happen, we go through the little festival arc, and then that's when Keiichi is told about all of this. Here, it's happening right before the Watanagashi, which is a bit weird. Shion dryly put words to my exact thoughts. Of course, I didn't expect it. She was from Hinamizawa, so I didn't think she'd come out and say it herself.
ちょっと落ち着いて考えれば、誰が見たってひなみ沢の誰かの仕業だってわかることです。ダム工事に反対して得をする人以外、動機がないじゃないですか。
Right. Exactly.
それはそうだけど。
Admitting to the existence of a darker side of the damn conflict would be rude to Mion, who spoke of it so highly. So I couldn't just accept Shion's seemingly logical viewpoint.
それにね、警察の人は知らないだろうけど、ひなみ沢の人間にはわかる、ひなみ沢の人間の犯行だという証拠があるんです。
Huh? Now that's news to me. At least in the last chapter, this was never covered. Shion rebukes me to keep my voice down.
ごめん。でもその証拠って一体。
必ず一人が死んで、もう一人が消えるからです。
What a smug aura coming from Mion, or Shion, I mean. One more person disappears. Did that mean that someone besides the one who died from the curse was a sacrifice?
消えるって意味がよくわからないな。
Okay, now they're voicing now Keiichi is voicing some of my theories out loud. Because I mentioned it last time, at least at the end of the chapter 1 discussion, that we know that a person dies and we know that someone disappears. That's a conclusion that we came to. And I thought to myself, well, I mean, they say the person dies, right? The person who disappears, they usually don't find their body, right? So for example, the priest's wife, quote unquote, committed suicide by jumping into the swamp. And all they could find was some of her, like some articles of clothing that belonged to her, like a shoe and like a shirt or something. Right, like that's all they found. And I jokingly said at the very end of the chapter 1 discussion, I was like, I mean, what are they going to use them for? Sacrifices? Because I thought that could be a thing. That might actually be happening. So hey, for all we know, it's actually going in that direction where those who did disappear ended up being sacrifices. But I guess we won't know until later.
それは失踪するって意味か？
そうです。忽然と跡形もなく。
As she spoke, Shion pretended to do a trick with her hands like she were making a magician's hat disappear. One dies a mysterious death and one disappears, never to be seen again. A strange vanishing act. But then why... how does that equate to someone from Hinamizawa being the culprit?
実はね、ひなみ沢の古い伝統の一つにね、お社様の怒りを鎮めるために生贄を捧げたというのがあるの。
Ah, so the sacrifice theory was correct. Oh, well, assuming that this legend is true.
生贄？
ええ。
Yeah. That's quite something.
すまきにされて底なし沼に生きたままじわじわと時間をかけて沈めたんです。
So that's what they meant. Takano-san, though explaining something pretty terrible, has a look of glee on her face as she did so.
文献を調べた限りでは3日3晩をかけて本当にゆっくりとじわじわと沈めたそうよ。ほら、昔の人って結構ダジャレが好きでしょ。沈める沈めるをかけてたんだと思うの。だから時間をかけて沈めるという意味があったんでしょうね。
Takano-san was the only one laughing at this. Was she telling a joke or something? Shion didn't move to deny it, but I felt a difference in temperature between her cool expression and Takano-san's.
この辺の話はまあ聞いて想像がつくと思いますけど、ひなみ沢の秘士です。ひなみ沢に昔からいる人なら誰でも知ってますが、それを口に出すことはありませんね。
Yeah.
高野さんはひなみ沢出身じゃないけどね。詳しい。彼女は郷土史とか民間伝承とかが好きでね。
Yeah. She just likes folklore
全
quite
部
a bit.
独学で調べたんだよ。
そんなにかっこいいものじゃないのよ。単なる知的好奇心。子供と同じよ。ただの怖いもの見たさ程度なんだから。
Tomitake-san laughed, a little bit embarrassed.
ちょっと待ってください。ってことは何ですか？事件のたびに消えるという一人は生贄に捧げられているって言うんですか？
Yeah. Shion answers in one word before anyone else can speak. Also, I learned about this from a YouTube comment actually. Whenever we don't hear any audio from a line, I used to think that the game was glitched or that the patch might have been messed up or something, but it's actually that this was a line that was strictly for, like, let's say the PC port of the visual novel. And it didn't actually have an audio line in the console version, which is where a lot of these audio clips or the audio from the patch comes from. So that's something that I wasn't aware of. So I kept thinking that my game was glitched because at some point it went on for a little while, like line after line or like page after page, and I thought, okay, maybe I fucked up or something. But no, it's just, well. Anyway, someone dies, then someone disappears.
本当に生贄にされてるかどうかは別にして、過去の事件では必ず一人が死ぬ他に一人が消えてるんだよ。例えば一番最初のダム現場の監督が殺された事件も 複数犯のうちの最後の一人が未だ逮捕されてないらしいんだ。
Right. The guy who organized
そ
the
れ
whole
は
thing.
単にうまく逃げおおせてるだけなんじゃないんですか？
Oh, wait a
別
minute.
に生贄にされたというのとは違うのでは？
Oh, I just fucking remembered. Didn't they say that they found his car by the swamp? And that he's been missing ever since? Police staked every possible place that he could have been at. Could it be that they killed the guy who was doing the dam construction, and then the guy who organized all of it sacrificed himself? To maybe quell Yashiro-sama's anger. Huh.
まあ、
Anyway.
僕もそうだとは思うんだけどね。で、次の年のダム推進派のリーダー格の男なんだけど。
確か旅行先で崖から落ちて亡くなったんですよね。
落ちたのは奥さんも一緒らしいの。警察は懸命に捜索したんだけど、どうしても奥さんの遺体だけ見つけられないんですって。崖下の川は増水してたそうだからね。どこか川下の湖の湖底で土砂にでも埋まってしまったのかもしれないけどね。
The perpetrator of a dismemberment like that wouldn't want to be caught, so they'd be desperate to run away and hide too. I thought I'd hear about cases where the corpses wouldn't surface after the person drowned in a swelled river like that. She vanished because of an unfortunate accident, but I still didn't see the connection to sacrifices. If you took each of the past incidents in turn, none of the disappearances evoked that terrifying of an image.
その翌年の
Yeah, it's almost like
神
they were
主の病
accidents.
死の時ははっきりしてます。奥さんが遺書を残したんです。
Yeah.
死んでお社様のお怒りを鎮めに参りますってな感じのが神主さんが亡くなった晩に自宅に残されてたそうですから。
The curse. It seems to turn up in this one though.
まあ、真相は闇の中なんだけどね。その奥さんが受水自殺した沼は、さっき高野さんも話した例のでっかい底なし沼ってことになっててね。
Right.
警察も沼を調べたそうだけど、遺品がいくつか見つかっただけで遺体は発見できなかった。
Right. So this is the swamp that they've mentioned. I believe they've mentioned before in the chapter. If not, they mentioned it last chapter anyway. But this chapter is quote unquote like the gate to the underworld. That it's so deep that if you happen to reach the bottom of it, you're at like the underworld.
警察は偽装自殺を疑って今でも探してるらしいよ。
Someone dies every year, and in the same way, someone goes missing every year. She's trying to tell me that everyone who vanishes was kidnapped by some extremely efficient means and dumped into the bottomless swamp, still alive and drowned to death. But a curse? That's unbelievable in its own right.
その翌年には、なんだっけ、ダム推進派の男の弟夫婦の奥さんだっけ？
Damu? You think in the 80s they would have used the actual word and not a loan word for that, for the word dam, unless it doesn't exist.
が
Anyway.
殺されたんだよな。
And the same way, someone
消えました。北条聡くんっていう私と同い年の男の子です。
Yeah, Satoshi.
殺された主婦の義理の甥にあたります。
Shion cut him with a slightly strong tone of voice. She knew the boy who had disappeared pretty well. At least, that's the vibe I was getting.
まあ、ざっとこんな感じね。必ず一人が死んで、必ず一人が忽然と消える。
Well, you could consider it religious zealotry, but assuming, I mean, if we follow the story, right? What we know is that the priest's wife committed suicide, right? Like that's the story we're told. If you want to believe now the new information that we've been given, where it's heavily implied that these people are demoned away, right? Which is instead of spirited away, they're demoned away. As we learned from chapter 1, it could be that she was forced to write the suicide note, and then she was dumped into the swamp. Or some of her articles of clothing or personal items were dumped in the swamp, and then she was taken somewhere else and sacrificed in a different manner. But we don't know yet. But these are like thoughts that, of course, you're supposed to be having and speculating while reading all of this. But it's kind of implied that if she did die, it wouldn't be by her choice, especially considering how her husband was a stay back and kind of see what unravels type of guy, just watch from the sidelines and see what's up. So I guess it's safe to assume that she would probably be kind of similar. Anyway, leaving the suddenness aside, the fact that each incident involved one person disappearing.
じゃあつまり一人目が死ぬのはお社様のたたりで、二人目が失踪するのは村人が生贄に捧げてるからだって言うんですか？
ケイちゃん、たたりなんかないです。誰かがお社様のたたりという名で一人目を殺し、誰かがその生贄として二人目をさらってるんです。
でもシオン、それじゃあ村の中に犯人がいるってことになるんだぞ。
私は初めからそう睨んでます。結構ショックですよ。この昭和の時代にそんな古い飲酒で人殺しが堂々と行われるなんて。
It didn't have anything to do with our discussion, but I got the feeling that maybe Shion didn't like Hinamizawa very much. Mion enjoyed talking about Hinamizawa and its epic tales. So she had avoided talking about Oyashiro-sama's curse, which didn't paint Hinamizawa in a good light no matter how you looked at it. She was trying not to give me a bad impression of the village, so she didn't say anything. Shion, on the other hand, was somehow different. She wasn't rejecting the concept of a curse to purge Hinamizawa of this bad impression, but rather because she strongly believed that a member of the village was the criminal behind this. Her conviction seemed a bit removed from the tight sense of community held by the people of Hinamizawa. Once upon a time, they looked so alike you could mistake one for the other. But talking to her now, I was getting a powerful feeling that Shion had a completely different personality than Mion.
じゃあ皆さんはHinamizawaの誰かが犯人だと思ってるんですね。
Neither Shion nor Takano-san answered that. The deafening silence told me all that needed to be said.
じゃあ重ねて質問します。Hinamizawaの誰かが犯人なら、犯人は誰なんですか？
And who did it? Neither Shion nor Takano-san had a reply to this question either. Though it may have been rude to ask, I had hoped they wouldn't have one. The reason I asked was to argue that their explanation that the culprit was from Hinamizawa was nothing more than one possibility. Shion caught onto my plan. She gave me a pained smile at my petty spite and opened her mouth to speak. Oh no.
私が言ったのは所詮状況証拠ですからね。具体的に犯人の名前を知ってたなら警察に突き出してます。
Yeah, what if every year the killer is chosen at random by a fucking lottery, and then we get to win at this time? It's like, alright, Keiichi, you want to be part of Hinamizawa, you gotta kill someone. Who's it gonna be? And then we have to kill Rena or something. As would anybody. Now what about Takano-san? She too smiled dryly as Shion, and had opened her own mouth.
はじめに誤解を解いておきたいんだけど、別に私は探偵さんのつもりはないのよ。本音を言うとね、犯人が誰かなんてことには興味ないの。
高野さんも困った人だな。
Omitaka-san gave a bitter laugh at her surprising opinion on the matter.
私はね、古式ゆかしい残酷な風習やおとぎ話に興味があるだけ。
See, I'm a sadist.
知的好奇心で面白がってるだけなの。だから一連の事件も犯人は誰かってことよりも事件の存在自体が古い因習がまだ根深く残ってることの証拠だって思って面白がってるくらい。
Though she described herself as nothing more than a curious onlooker, her smile was sharp as the tip of a blade. Women like her felt very strange and a little scary to me. I mean, Keiichi, I don't blame you. Maybe it's just that I was in fearful awe of the person whose emotions I couldn't comprehend.
私は全然面白くないですけどね。明日はいよいよ綿流しのお祭りですけど、誰にも死んでほしくないし、誰も消えてほしくないです。
Yeah, he's not used to creepy, like, scary adult women yet.
明日か。
That's right. It had completely slipped my mind. The string of murder incident people attributed to Yashiro-sama's curse. It wasn't over. If last year's incident wasn't the end, then tomorrow night at the festival, would someone die and someone disappear?
明日は一体誰が死んで誰が消えるのかしらね。
And I don't think we've seen this face. Oh. They're both so fucking smug. Oh, she looks even worse here. Oh my god. Takano-san said, running a comb through her hair with elegant movements, with a thin smile and a voice that nearly made me shudder. So she just pulls a comb out of nowhere like a switchblade, and just starts like passing it through her hair like a 60s greaser. She almost looked like she was enjoying the thought of the incidents that could happen tomorrow. Then, out of the blue, we heard a loud round of applause. They seemed to be ending the drinking party early. Right. I was making Mion wait this whole time, wasn't I? I should go back to her soon.
高野さんもからかいすぎだよ。圭一君がすっかり真に受けてしまったじゃないか。
ごめんなさいね。また悪い癖が出ちゃったみたい。
Said Takano-san, sticking out her tongue bashfully. The strangeness in her expression was nowhere to be found. I don't think we've seen her smile either. This one.
高野さんはね、純粋そうな子を見るとからかいたくなる悪い癖があるんだよ。
She sounds like a dangerous person, if I'm honest.
圭一君が真剣に聞いてくれるもんだから、ついつい調子に乗っちゃったみたいなんだ。
Unlike Takano-san, Tomitake-san seemed like a totally normal person with common sense. They were apologizing after realizing what kind of impression they'd given me.
高野さんが今した話はあくまでもフィクションだからね。もしもさっきの話で圭一君がひなみ沢に持ってたいい印象が傷つけられてしまったなら、純粋に申し訳なく思うよ。
もう二郎さんたら。
Yeah, I mean, the original art, this one has its charm, which is why I like it. So, like, when we play through this entire, first chapter, we'll play through it with this, with this art. Any console exclusive games will play with the console art, and so on. Because the console art is pretty good as well. It's very, very nice. And then we get to this. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, look at Jiro's arms. God damn, they look fucking terrifying. Like, they look very badly done.
高野さんも謝った方がいい。怖がらせてしまってごめんなさいってね。
Takano-san and Tomitake-san were arguing and messing around now. The strained air around us had already dissipated.
ケイちゃんもそろそろ戻った方がいいです。お姉は嫉妬深いですからね。
Is she?
私は顔を合わせると喧嘩になりそうだからこのまま帰ることにします。
そうなのか？じゃあ俺はミオンのとこに戻って待たせたことを謝るかな。
迷惑をかけたね、圭一君。ミオンちゃんに圭一君を長く借りすぎて申し訳ないと伝えてくれないかな。
あ、はい。伝えても機嫌は直さないと思いますけど、一応。
Tomitaka-san and Takano-san, standing next to each other, both began to chuckle.
じゃあね、ケイちゃん。明日のお祭り、どこかですれ違えるといいですね。
Oh.
会えるよ。どうせ俺たちのことだ。賑やかにやってるに決まってる。
Shion and I said our goodbyes to Tomitaka-san and Takano-san. Before we could leave, Takano-san called out to us.
私の話を真剣に聞いてくれてありがとうね。前原くんがあまりに聞き上手だったんで、話しててとても楽しかったわ。
聞き上手なんて、そんな。
I was just in a state of perpetual bewilderment from all the shocking topics being thrown at me, one after another.
今日した話、面白かった？
まあ、興味深かったです。
なら、また今度も聞いてくれる？ひなみ沢の昔話とかおとぎ話にも興味深いものがたくさんあるの。もちろん、薄気味悪いのがたくさんね。私特選のをたくさん披露するわよ。
I was kind of happy, but kind of worried. I can't help but smile dryly and scratch my head.
ケイチ君、もう行ってもいいんだよ。
Keiichi, get the fuck out of here.
高野さんがからかっているだけさ。
She's gonna talk your ear off. They say goodbye again and run off. I heard Tomitaka-san call out behind him in a clear voice that we would see each other at the festival tomorrow. Yeah, imagine it's just Mion killing Shion. You were never a part of the village. You left us when you were young. You left when you had the chance. You're an outsider, and then you stole Keiichi from me, and then we're sacrificed. When I went to the tent, Mion was waiting for me, and she was nowhere to be found. I made her wait for so long. Maybe she got mad and went home. After asking some of the adults passing by, I heard that she went home talking to some relatives. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But my regret for having made Mion wait wasn't enough to triumph over the impression Takano-san and Shion's uncanny story left on me. Serial murder incidents had happened 4 years in a row. Will tomorrow's events make this the 5th? And the possibility that someone from Hinamizawa was carrying this all out under the guise of the curse. The queer tradition of ritual sacrifice, entirely unbecoming of the Showa period we live in. I regretted it a little, though it was too late. If none of those creepy stories had anything to do with me, then I should have let Mion pull me away from that crowd. I felt a little ashamed about letting my cheap curiosity get the better of me. Oh, and that's the end of the chapter. Jeez, okay. Well, let's save, as usual. Right. And let's view the tips. Was not expecting like it to go this way, but so far it's pretty interesting. So they did the lore dump before the festival instead of on the night of the festival. So it kind of makes you wonder what's gonna happen. Because again, like, my mind is turning with like theories and the like, especially when it comes to, well, all of this. Because for example, in chapter 1, I mean, we've seen what happens in chapter 1, right? We know what happens in chapter 1. So why are we having this discussion? Why are we having this discussion now, here before the festival, instead of afterwards, if things are supposed to play out the way they would before? So is this going to be again one of those Groundhog Day scenarios where we're reliving the same week like over and over again? Is it going to be just a different type of story where we're told just shown a different path of what could have been? Is chapter 3, for example, just going to be a bunch of like it's just us, like we get hurt really badly at first, and then we end up going to the clinic, and we end up like meeting with the nurse, and then we have to kind of go back there every day for like a checkup, and then every single other day she tells us like a new story or some shit like that. Is that what's gonna happen? Like, is that what chapter 3 is gonna be all about? And then we learn more about all the Hinamiza 1 stories? I don't know, but it's kind of interesting just seeing how this game is being fleshed out. But for now, let's continue. Let's look at the tips, and then we'll get ready to call it for today. So, from the scrapbook 1. Oyashiro-sama's curse. In the ancient Onagachi village, the anger of Oyashiro-sama, his curse, was feared above all. However, it is seldom stated anywhere what eventually happens and what sort of divine judgment, curse, befalls them when Oyashiro-sama is angry. From various reports, all hell will break loose, demons will come flooding out, the miasma from hell will flood outward and kill every villager, letting not a single one escape. The ones evoking images of the village being annihilated stand out the most. These terrifying ideas of divine punishment are in alignment with many other religious beliefs regarding the apocalypse, hell. And it's easy to imagine that they are just ways of convincing people to obey the teachings in order to prevent such an end. Right. The conditions for inciting Oyashiro-sama's wrath are likely the same as the taboos in Onagachi village. I believe that when an act was performed that violates one of these taboos, Oyashiro-sama was termed angry. And in order to quell his anger, they would perform an aforementioned sacrificial ritual. Right. Yeah, I don't know if Keiichi can just like ignore like these events and then all of a sudden not like just be fine. I don't think that would happen. Maybe he tries it in one of the endings or in one of the chapters and he still dies. I don't know. But yeah, for the most part, depending on how you view religion, right? Religion as a concept, whether you are religious or not. And this is probably going to offend a lot of people. But in general, religion is used mainly to unite people and have them all come under a specific banner and kind of follow a specific set of rules, let's say. So, for example, I don't know, if you look at like just modern like Christianity, for example, they've got the Ten Commandments, they got a bunch of other shit, right? Those are all just like general rules that people should follow to kind of have a structured society, you know, like thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, stuff like that, right? Those are all common things that, you know, a banner that anyone can unite under and be like, you know what, yeah, this makes sense. But then religion is also kind of used as a control tactic. And this was very prominent, say, like during the Roman Empire, when Catholicism, I believe, I don't remember, dude, I get them confused. Catholicism or Christianity was at its peak, eventually at some point in the Roman Empire. And it was used as a tool to kind of control the masses by scaring them into basically giving money to the church, which has always been kind of like the goal of any religious institute, if I'm honest. And again, not to rant too much about this, but in general, you've got the in a general overview with religion, it's always some sort of like, here's a god, worship him, follow these rules, and you'll be fine, right? And then there's always a downside. If you don't follow these rules, this will happen. So with like, say, Christian dogma, if you don't worship God, or if you don't follow his commandments, or if you violate any of the laws that he's got, you go to hell, right? Like that's the punishment. Or you are tortured for eternity in some, you know, inferno, right? Like that's the general gist. The same thing applies with something like this, like with Hinamizawa, where you have your local religion, right, of Oyashiro-sama, and if you don't follow his rules, if you don't listen to him, well then all hell breaks loose, right? Literally like the miasma from the swamp, and then the gate to the underworld opens up, and then everyone in the village dies. So that could be seen as either it's real, and that will happen, or it's just a method that maybe those in power in the village, the higher ups, are using to kind of control the masses and then also propagate their own ideals forward. As we know, the Sonozaki family, Mion and Shion's family, have pretty deep ties into the government. So they probably used maybe some of this fear-mongering, let's say, to kind of push their agenda, perhaps. So, you know. Yeah, exactly. So like that's kind of what comes with religion overall as a whole. Like that's what's to be expected. If you just boil it down to like a skeleton as to like what makes up a religion, you basically get those ideas. For the most part, it's a way for the elite to control the weak-minded, to put it bluntly. Like that's what religion tends to be. But most people use it, or you know, they form under a guise of like, oh well, religion is good for you, or this will happen, or if you praise God, this will happen. But for the most part, those at the center of these religious institutes are very greedy individuals that know how to manipulate people easily, and they just take your money. Because why not? They don't care, but they know you do. And I mean, you want salvation, right? So anyway, that's that's me rambling on a little too much about it. Let's move on to the second scrapbook. But that's just to kind of put into perspective like what I think might be happening here with Hinamizuma. The human sacrifice ritual. The sacrificial ritual was a simple drowning involving plunging sacrifices into Watanagashi swamp, which was considered hallowed. Of the rituals of Watanagashi village, this one was unique in that the sacrifice would sink slowly over the long course of 3 days and 3 nights. I believe that it wasn't so much the killing of the sacrifice that was important, but rather the symbolism of them sinking and submerging, and the submerging of Oyashiro-sama's anger. For that purpose, they must have had a passion for learning various methods for keeping the sacrifice from sinking too quickly, to force them to sink more slowly. Unfortunately, as far as I can tell from the records, those methods were not recorded. My thoughts were that they may have used logs or some similar material to create a raft, then set up a scaffold on there, hung the sacrifice with the ropes, and then let them sink little by little over time into the swamp. However, if that were the case, it would not be strange if the ritual implements used for such a ceremony were honored as holy and enshrined somewhere. Yeah, exactly. Which is why which is why it's great to kind of like think about this sort of stuff. Like if you just consider it, if you just look at it from, well, like a psychological point of view. At least this applies more to modern religions. By that I mean stuff that kind of came within the past 2,000 years. I don't believe this happened with more quote-unquote pagan religions. By that I mean, if you look at, say, like the Greek pantheon, right? Like those dudes, while they had temples and stuff like that, they weren't, to my knowledge, they were not constantly begging for money. It was more like, you have to pray here or we're literally going to die because Poseidon's gonna like send like a storm at us and we're all gonna drown. And usually whenever some natural disaster would happen, they would pray to whatever god of the pantheon, you know, presided over that type of natural disaster. And it was more out of fear, right? But either way, from the scrapbook 3. Implements used for the ritual. Ritual tools utilized for ancient religious ceremonies are commonly referred to as implements or ritual implements, and even now, some of them are enshrined on the property of Furuda Shrine in the 3 families. Do they use different words for this? Let's see. Don't... Yes, they do. Because the kanji for instruments, I believe, if you look at the ones with the... Because in Japanese, the quotes are those L shapes, like the upside down L shapes. If you look at the kanji on the right, the one that looks like a box that's on a little platform with 2 little legs underneath it, you can see that 2 characters to the left again. And then it seems like... I mean, it looks like probably like a box containing tools, right? Being held up. So that's probably what the kanji stands for. Anyway. However, the identifiable tools are all decorative, and none appear to have been used in rituals governing the dark side of Watanagashi village. As the Edo era came to a close, and many traditional rituals were lost, were they lost as well? Or perhaps buried in the darkness? I don't believe so. Both the implements used on the night of the festival... Both the implements used on the night of the feast of Watanagashi and those used during the sacrificial ceremony must still exist, enshrined away from the eyes of the masses. I believe Onikakushi was demoned away. I believe that was the word for it. Without a doubt, they exist here, today at this very moment in Hinamizawa. Also, I'm nearly certain where they've been enshrined. What was once locked steadfastly has, for some reason, changed this year to a cheap-looking padlock. He may be able to do something about such a lock. However, it is not far from the assembly hall, nor is it even far from the presence of people. However, I will not give up. The night when it becomes a blind spot to every villager in Hinamizawa is coming soon. Soon it will be Watanagashi. Who is he of whom you speak of? Well, we know that they use a ritualistic hoe, at least, for the ritual, and Rika is the one swinging a hoe around like crazy. But that's, kind of normal for a farming village, for them to have a farming tool as a, sort of a religious object. Anyway, festival's around the corner, and it seems to be in the police station.
Oi, oi. 今日のうちからへばっててどうすんだよ。明日は最後の最後。バッチリ深夜まで燃え上がっていくんだからな。よっせ、気合い入れてきますぜ。よし、若さが一番だ。
みんなお疲れさん。渡流しはいよいよ明日だからな。今夜は早めに眠って体力を蓄えておいてくれよ。
Tomorrow was finally Watanagashi. Festivals are split into two groups, those who enjoy them and those who support them. The former only need prepare their minds, but the latter needs not only that, but also painstakingly crafted plans and preliminary arrangements. While the general majority attending goes about enjoying the festival, without a care in the world, will be strained the whole way through. Why?
そりゃ決まってるだろう。全部終わった後のビールがうまいからだよ。
At times like these, it's best to have energetic, physically fit people. It wouldn't be worth it if you didn't do your best until the end, enjoying it the whole way.
ああ、来ました。
Oishi-san came in. Everyone hurried to stand up.
はいはい、皆さんお疲れ様ですね。そのままで結構ですよ。
お疲れ様です。
Not even my seniors, who usually talk big about themselves, can hold a candle to Oishi-san. Is this Kuma-chan talking? Probably. We all bow as if we were one of those cheering squads of old. Kuraudo Oishi. Kuraudo, right. Jesus, what a fucking name. A detective just waiting to retire. One who doesn't pay much mind to rules and regulations and who doesn't do too much in the way of real work. He looks like a rotten old man with a penchant for dirty jokes. My seniors, though, tell me he was a real fighter in his younger days, and that he may or may not have quite a heroic legend trailing behind him. Anyway, he surely had much more dignity and presence in the room than the section chief who came in with him.
皆さん、明日の綿流しの準備、本当にお疲れさんです。
Everyone present stands upright and lends their ear to the chief's directions.
昨年発生したように、連続事件を期待する愉快犯の出現が濃厚に危惧されます。各員、一層気を引き締め、犯罪の抑止のために任務を全うしてください。
おっせ！
何も起こらなければ一番いいんですがね。必ず事件は起こると考えてくださいよ。抑止が一番ですが、まあ多分無理でしょう。今年も誰かが死んで誰かが消えます。もう間違いなく。
Everyone apart from the section chief smiled painfully.
大石さん、そんなんじゃ困るよ。もっと真剣にやってくれなきゃ。
肝心なのは、祭りの夜を越すことじゃないんです。明日の夜、 起こった何かに迅速かつ徹底的にどこまでも食いついていくこと。気合い入れてくよ。兜の尾を引き締めてき。
Clench those cheeks. Oh no.
お社様のたたりの化けの皮を完璧にひっぺかしてやるぞ。
Oh. The fuck, Koi-san? Anyway. Alright. I guess we'll go ahead and call it here.